Well, hey, friends, this is Ed Hudgens, your faithful community collaborator guy with Converge Radio, and I've got a special gentleman with me that you all may know. His name is Scott Morfitt,
Hi, friends.
and he is the station manager for Converge, and we're going to do something a little different. Instead of doing our traditional board meetings and all other kinds of meetings, we're going to share some information.
Well, and frankly, this is to also eliminate us needing to talk everyone's ear off every moment.
Yes.
This is our talk your ear off. So when you see us, we can think about how to work on these things we're talking your ear off about.
Absolutely. And so we're calling it a podcast.
We know it's a video that you can find on YouTube and on the website, but I think that's okay.
That's right. So
Do we have a name for the podcast? We haven't really thought of that.
No, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah, the Converge Cast. Let's not get hung up.
We thought a lot about the content, but not necessarily the name, which is okay.
Which is, I think, like pretty indicative of this being an actual podcast and not a radio program.
Right. So we're gonna share a few things with you today, some exciting stuff that's going on with Converge, and let you know how you can be involved moving forward. And that really kind of slides right into what we want to talk about first in terms of plugging in. For you guys that have been involved in doing a lot of things with the station, whether it's at concerts or other ways that you contribute in the background, we just want to really say thank you. This effort to bring people together around music and the arts, it's not going to happen without your help. And so we want to thank you. I don't know, Scott, if you have anything you want to add to that sentiment.
I mean, it's always amazing to me, like taking the 100-foot, like look at things and realizing how many hands are starting to be in things. And I see a real potential for that. I think look at things like our video series that we did earlier in the spring, and just other projects like that. Or going back a year ago, Pre-Clairs, how many people like came together for things. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the things as we talk about, we really do appreciate everyone's time. And we're really looking at ways that we can make things be an hour or two of fun a week, a month, or whatever. And really just hoping to plug people in because it's exciting to just see the teamwork with this.
It is. And just by way of example, being a part of the Expedition shows, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, but we had a pit wagon show there recently. And I have a friend up in Bloomer named Josh who he's just super duper excited about these shows and what we could potentially do in Bloomer. And so he's gotten activated.
Yes.
And that's the kind of thing we're seeing with a variety of things we're doing is people just getting pumped up and invested in this thing. And it's really exciting.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that we're looking at too is how we can get like literally into the communities and active in these communities like Bloomer, like Chippewa Falls, like Rice Lake and Menominee, and of course right here in Eau Claire. So yeah, that's really like what Josh has talked about has hit the heart of really what this thing is. So that's amazing.
Yeah. So as we're going through the information we're going to share with you in this podcast video thing, I would ask you to consider, first of all, where do your passions lie in terms of what are the things that you're good at or you're into that you think might apply to what we're trying to accomplish with the station, or maybe you got ideas about something that we're not thinking about yet. Be thinking about that, and then as we talk about these things, think about how those passions and those interests might line up with things that we have in mind that we're going to do. And if you're interested, and I hope that you are, I would invite you to go to convergeradio.org/team and sign up for events or to sign up to help and to volunteer in different things. And we'd love to get you involved more heavily if you want to.
Well, because helping can even be just developing one of your passions or things like that. That's the core of what we're at.
Exactly.
So yeah, I guess we have the convergeradio.org/team. I snuck something into this side, so I just want to say it really quick. We've been using TuneIn a lot lately, and that's a great way people can literally plug into what we do.
Yeah.
It's right on the top of our website, but also if you go to TuneIn and find Converge Radio, you can stream us on pretty much any device.
Sweet.
I use it in the car all the time, use it at home. But that's something that you can help us out by just sharing that link to the TuneIn. And it is as easy as clicking on our player at the top of the page, and you'll find our TuneIn page. Definitely help us out with that, friends. And also use it to listen to this
because
thing.
it's great. I use it all the time, honestly. Because sometimes around town I have a hard time getting the signal.
Yeah, that's something called eSkip. We can talk about that really quick if you want. What the around Eau Claire thing is. So when you experience, especially in the summer, that thing where other stations will pop in, or we get some blurriness, it's a thing called eSkip, which it's heat and humidity in the air make the radio waves literally skip off, and that compounded with having a building in Banbury Place, which is actually blocking downtown Eau Claire from our transmitter, creates some of those issues. It might even be why we have a station, literally.
Yeah. But
we're working on that.
The cool thing is that even with that reality, you can use this TuneIn app, and it's wonderful. I mean,
and the sound quality is awesome. It's even better than our old streamers somehow. So that's kind of awesome.
I totally agree. Hey, should we talk about some other stuff?
Definitely.
All right. So we want to talk a little bit about the Converge presence. And what we mean by that is, how do we get Converge out into the community at events and other just things that are happening where people can become more aware of Converge and what we do and what we're about. One of the things we've talked about with that is the idea of trade shows. Now, Scott, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you really like trade shows?
I do not.
Well, what the heck, man?
I mean, I like any event where people come together and they have and that's not to be a cliche for our radio thing, but I don't like them personally just because it's an awkward thing. But when I am at trade shows, I see a lot of people that do plug into them and that love them, and I know that they are people's passion. So I know because I know that not everything is trying to appeal to white male 39-year-old Scott Morfitt and maybe to other people in the community, that there's other types of people that enjoy things. Yeah. So that's something that we've talked about, because do you really enjoy them? But we know there are people that enjoy them. So that's one thing
we want to identify them.
Exactly. We want to figure out who likes this stuff and who would like to do stuff at them, and also just literally tell us what should be at our booth. We've talked about this a ton. I don't know, do I print pens? I literally have no clue what's effective. So if you're listening right now and you're like, I know what's effective at a trade show, well, there's your sign.
Yeah.
Oh, I probably shouldn't use that. That's a trademark.
Well, convergeradio.org/team.
Exactly.
That's we need to know. So not only trade shows, but we're looking at, things like the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, other community celebrations that happen all the time.
Illiva Broiler Fest, Amory Fall Festival.
The International Fall Festival here in Eau Claire.
Exactly. Even Festival of the Pines that was recently.
Totally, because there was live music happening there.
Exactly.
It would have made sense for us to be there.
Exactly. Well, and just other different events. I mean, one of the things that I know about these things is if we write a few emails in advance to events like that and tell them, hey, we'll mention your thing, we can have people that would go and be able to participate in whatever that is, usually free of charge, and get hooked up somehow.
That is absolutely accurate.
So that's something that you could go over to convergeradio.org/team. And if you're interested in doing community events like that, definitely hit us up. And that could be something that we use the trade show booth for, too. So it's like a tie-in.
Absolutely. The other thing, too, is there are opportunities for I want to mention this because we think of typically Eau Claire, the Chippewa Valley, and then maybe sometimes Western Wisconsin as a whole, in terms of where we want to have reach and where we want to touch stuff. I want to say, we really, it's throughout Western Wisconsin. So if you're aware of something happening in Barron or in Amory or wherever, even if getting over into the Twin Cities, if you think there's something that makes sense for us to be a part of, then I would invite you to let us know, because we're good buddies with our family at the Current. We dig the Current.
Definitely.
We are not trying to compete with them, but we have reach in the Twin Cities, and there's potential even with some updates that are coming up that we might actually have radio signal in that area if things work out the way we're hoping.
In a few parts, yes, in a few parts of that area.
So we love Minneapolis, St. Paul, and we're in the Twin Cities area. So if there's stuff there, we're open to what makes sense for Converge to get the name out there and make some more connections.
Well, and I'll say, like, bluntly, like, we've realized that there's certain concerts that just due to the number of people around this area that maybe can't happen in Eau Claire, that definitely do happen in the Twin Cities, that are really still part of our DNA and about celebrating things like, I'm looking for a band on here, like maybe like a Moby concert or something.
Well, there's a really great example that we just went to last month.
The Tame Impala show.
At the Surly Brewing Grounds. And it was, what an incredible event. And I don't want to get into too much detail about that because I think we're probably going to talk about in a separate platform here about that a little bit. But we were guests of Surly for this show, and we had just a great experience from the road trip aspect of it to the coffee shop that we went to beforehand to incredible food at the Brewing Project, but then the concert itself.
That was at the Surly Grounds, not Brewing Project.
Yes, I'm sorry. I got Brewing Project on my mind. And I don't even really care for beer that much. Is that bad to say? Anyway.
I love beer, though. I don't know if I should say quite that emphatically.
Yeah. But the concert itself, it made sense we were there because chances are we're not going to get a Tame Impala show in Eau Claire.
Right.
But we play Tame Impala. And we like Tame Impala as a station. So the other thing, too, I wanted to mention is that it's not just about music. We have a really cool event coming up in a couple of weeks here at the Halley Block Party with Showtime Championship Wrestling, which is becoming something of a cultural phenomenon here in our area.
It definitely is, and it's an interesting scene where there's multiple people coming together, like people that you never see.
Right, and it's so we're Converge is going to be broadcasting live from the Halley Block Party on September 14th, and we're hoping to build an ongoing relationship with Showtime. We're going to play some wrestling-themed music, and we're going to have interviews. That's the kind of thing, that's kind of out-of-the-box thinking, but it's a great connection point. And there are those of us, me included, who would say that pro wrestling is an art form. So...
Well, and I think it's also indicative of the ways that, like you said, like not music things. Like we did a live broadcast from Pride Fest in the past few months. We did that Phil Cook show over there in Chippewa Falls. And even like we've done Chalk Fest for almost every year. Yeah. We've had every year that's been on campus here on UW Eau Claire.
Yep.
We've had a strong presence, and we're always open to ideas about that, and even working on ways that our team here in the studio can work with people in the community to figure out ways to get on air. It might not always be a direct live plug-in broadcast.
Yeah.
But there's ways that we can do things like that. And so that's another one. Hit up that team page.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of the next thing on my mind here is not only do we want to have a presence out in the community, the broader community, but we have a presence among us that has come back now as we move into fall.
The other bald Scott.
Yep, Scott Montesano and the Blue Gold Athletics are back for the fall. So we just wanted to make mention of that because that's a nice aspect of our of what we do here. Obviously, we are in deep partnership with the university, and we are in deep partnership specifically with the athletics department.
Yeah, I would say actually our deepest partnership with the university would be athletics because they're a contractual partner of this. And I always have to step in as the manager and put on my nerdy manager hat because like one of the things that I always do want to bring up is we have a neat symbiosis with the university, but we are a totally separate entity.
Right.
And that's also provided us with some unique strengths that have been exciting. But like one of the strengths is our partnership with Blue Gold Athletics and playing their games, just like different stations play the Express or whatever.
Right.
Like it's been a really neat business relationship that we really value as well.
And plus, we get to champion hometown athletics, which is a cool thing.
Exactly, and we get the audio chocolate that is one Scott Montesano on our airwaves. And so there's two things that people should know about it. Like we have the football. If you go actually to bluegolds.com, they do a great job of saying when the things are. But our coaches show is returning, and now this time around, it's going to be right after our Freshly Squeezed show at 6 on Mondays.
Nice.
Yeah, they want to do it as sort of a way to lead up to Monday Night Football, but also just like have a new night of Doolies that they're doing it a little bit earlier. So that's exciting. And then there's games throughout the afternoon, pretty much every Saturday except when the bye week is. We don't have the schedule in front of us, so you'll have to go to bluegolds.com.
And we would invite you to.
Yeah, definitely. Check it out. And check out the athletics department in general. I'll say this just as a side. I've went to a few of their banquets and just also talked with some of their athletes. The caliber of students that are athletes, and not even in football, but also in just the other sports and track and whatever. They're amazing, committed people who are, an inspiration just meeting them. So
that's cool.
There you go. And I think that's, for me, the neatest part about sharing it is sharing the students who are playing, sharing their stories. I love it every time I can hear that and hear about how someone came from Blaine, Minnesota to play football. I don't know. That's just really the cool symbiosis piece of this all with that.
Yeah. And they got sharp uniforms too. I just want to mention that. They look good. They're aesthetically pleasing.
They're blue and gold.
They are. They are that. All right. Well, we got next up, we were going to talk a little bit about our specialty shows. We don't want to get into too much detail about each one of these shows, but we want you to know that the specialty show program that we are running at Converge is alive and well and super healthy. I don't know. Anything you would add to that as we get into this?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that the specialty show, when we talked earlier in the hour about how people can come together to do things, to really work to build, the specialty shows are the super indicative piece of that. I mean, you've done Tome Swab forever. Well, for
it's over a year now.
For over a year now, and that's been just a neat partnership with you and a different, a few different students who've been your producers since the beginning. And just such a neat way to see stuff happening in the periphery. And you can tell them, I probably do very, very little with that show.
True. It's true. And for me, it's rewarding having the opportunity to have the show. It's a matter of self-expression, obviously, and that's great. But the partnership with Ashley, who is one of our student folks, she's a great producer and really has become a partner in the Tome Swab effort with me. That has been the most rewarding aspect. And working with, in the past, other students, Luke, Kessa, Jack Ross. I mean, it's just really that's been an incredibly rewarding part of this. And I would bet that Jerica and Davey J and some of the others that host these shows could speak to that same dynamic, that's been meaningful for them.
I definitely think they could. And yeah, it's really just exciting to see that happening. And that again is indicative of a way that we have these student community member partnerships to the best of everyone's ability. And one of the things I think that you've noticed too is you've started to think about how to work with students on their schedule, on their literal through the year schedule. So that's been an exciting way to see how something can go all year long.
Yeah.
And still happen with college students.
Well,
so
Ashley Dubs is really great, so I want to make sure that she can work with me. So I will bend to her schedule.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, let's go through these shows. Why don't you read off the shows, and I'll give you a few factoids and when they air.
Well, let's talk about Oddly Enough, because I know there's some fresh news when it comes to Oddly Enough.
Okay, Oddly Enough, I'm going to take more than a few seconds. I wanted to give a huge shout out to Karen, who's the showrunner for that. So Oddly Enough is a radio drama written by several different writers from the Chippewa Valley Writers Guild, and then a whole plethora of actors throughout the community. And so Karen, as the showrunner, has really coordinated that whole thing. And then Alex has been producing them, but they're just unique stories, like slice of life with things like snow worms and space aliens and cornfields that trap people in to talk about online dating and growing old and all of these interesting topics. Cool. So it's a really cool show. We're starting to air actually our first season episodes right now. They're on Fridays at 6 p.m. and then we'll find a rebroadcast time. But then we have a whole new slate of them starting the first Friday in October, and those actually go out through. We have 10 episodes, so that's going to go about 2 months, and then we're going to be playing some of our older radio dramas. But yeah, so oddly enough, it's going to be really good, and just have that on your radar. We'll share it on the webpage, of course. Play that as a podcast. It's got its own SoundCloud and all of that. But yeah, I want to say thank you to everyone who's acted in that. Thank you to the writers, and thank you so much to Alex and Karen who are really putting that whole thing together.
Sweet.
So that's the longest I'm going to talk about
All right.
any one show.
Well, let's talk about Freshly Squeezed then. I hear we've got some of the original Freshly Squeezed blood back in the game.
Yep. Kayla's coming back with that. So that's Kayla and Ashley, who are our hosts here at in-studio team. They bring together a bunch of the new music that we're adding and talk about it, give some facts on it, and just really curate a show of new music. And I really dig it, and I find out stuff about the new bands that I didn't even know, and I get emails on these things. So I just really, really dig that.
Yeah. Jazz, blues, and beyond.
So got Davey J hosting, Luke producing, airs Tuesdays at 5. That's an amazing show. If you haven't ever heard it, it literally lives up to its name, where it's jazz, blues, and beyond. And I think one thing that's fun is Davey J has really been leaning into that beyond lately, which is awesome. So you got to check that out. Tuesdays at 5.
All right, next up is Tome Swab, which is my show, and we already talked about it a little bit. Only thing I'll mention is that I got a series that I'm planning coming up that I'm excited about, where I'm going to share music and songs that have impacted me personally and why, and hopefully may connect with the listener. And then I'm going to do a little series on the Eau Claire Festival and how that's impacted me after that.
Nice.
Yeah. So Tunes from the Womb.
Oh, Tunes from the Womb. Like, I don't ever say anything's the best thing we do. I love Tunes from the Womb, though. That's Jerica and Kessa that have been working on that since the beginning. It's a little over a year old. They just bring together such interesting playlists that are either historical or new, just across the spectrum, really celebrate the female experience, and just they talk about themselves. And like, sometimes it's super fun, sometimes it's really serious, but it's always just a great listen.
Yeah, they've got important things to say.
Definitely.
For sure. Midwest Hip Hop.
Award-winning Midwest Hip Hop.
Yes.
Won Wisconsin Broadcasting Best Music Show Mid-Market. Like, that's honestly huge.
That's a big deal.
That was back when Eli was hosting, but now Cole and Paul are hosting. They do a great job. It airs on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And then actually on Sundays on 94... Jams. It airs on Jams 95.9. Oh, what's Jams?
It's 95.9, I think.
95.9 Jams. Yeah. I'm sorry, Luke, who is listening. I'm sure I messed that up. This is a podcast, so we're not going to edit that.
Sorry, Jams.
Sorry, Jams. You're our Jams, though, for reals. But yeah, that's a great hip hop show, and they're really leaning into the Milwaukee and Chicago scene, because I mean,
nice.
A lot of hip hop shows will definitely feature Minneapolis, like from around here, and we still do, because you have that Rhyme Sayers Doomtree like thing.
Yeah.
But they're really focusing on other parts around this hip hop region, so that's been fun.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the Carp returns.
Metal AF. I'll say that
Melt
out.
your face off.
Melt your face off with the Carp returns. That show's been really fun, and it in a way it has a lot of DNA it shares with Tunes from the Womb, and I'll tell you how. It's a community-centric show for people that want something as part of our whole. And there is such a strong metal scene throughout this region that we noticed that a lot of people are like, cool, I love that you do the metal show, and I'll put up with your whiny indie rock then in the other times. And so, like, no, I love that show. It's Thursdays at 9 p.m. It's always, it throws me off every time I tune it in, but then I listen for a good 20 to 30 minutes, however long I'm driving home that night.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's the drive home from Bloomer. You get
from the
that.
Expedition show.
Yeah.
That's right.
All
right, so next up, I'm going to use a little alliteration here.
Yeah.
It's my buddy Brad's baby, Boots and Blue Jeans.
Yeah, Boots and Blue Jeans, our country show. That's on Mondays. It's on Saturdays, 9 a.m. Brad's put together a great country show, and he travels a few different subgenres, kind of in the way like a metal show. There's like, metal is such a huge umbrella.
Yeah.
Country really is too. So he'll play a lot of like the Texas outlaw country, a lot of folk, Americana stuff. But then you'll hear a little Clint Black and Garth Brooks every once in a while, and really tastefully done. I really dig that. I do want to say, when we forgot it for the slide, my bad on this, Rock and Roll Homeroom's been running a lot of different weeks.
Yes.
That's been a neat thing where we invite area high schoolers to come in. That's another tab, actually, if you're listening and you have a high schooler. On the website, it's convergeradio.org/rock and roll homeroom. You can just go to our website. You'll see it on the page. But that's something that we're inviting basically if we broadcast there, and honestly, we broadcast on the internet, if people hear us and they're in high school, they can have a chance to be on the air. So that's been a really cool thing. We bring students in, they pick a few songs, and then they work with one of our producers to put that together.
Great. Love that partnership.
Yeah.
Well, how about Sessions?
Sessions is amazing and techno and wonderful. Saturdays at 10 to midnight. And yeah, I mean, I really do, again, like the electronic is a big one for me because I was a club DJ in the late 90s, early 2000s. And one of the things I like about Sessions is it doesn't sit in any one subgenre. Like, you'll be able to hear some jungle one week on it and then some electro lash the next week, and then maybe I don't know, some straight up like techno one week and then house music the next, and some trance. There's definitely trance there too, and all things in between. So I dig that show.
Isn't Electro Lash like one of Spider-Man's arch enemies?
It's close.
Okay. All right, so this is exciting stuff we got coming up now. We're talking about Converge Presents, and these are concerts that Converge has happening soon. And I'm going to just, if it's all right, Scott, I'm going to just kind of roll
through this. I mean, they can find it all at convergeradio.org/tickets.
But we have the ultra-talented Elizabeth Moen from Iowa coming and playing at the Plus here in September. We've got Good Morning Bedlam at the Plus also here in September. We got the great...
Same week, in fact.
Same week, that's right. We got a lot happening that week. The Great Menominee Cookout happening, where there's going to be several bands playing. And that's pretty soon too, right?
That's like the 12th, Thursday the 12th. Yeah, the 12th. I'm awful on dates. I know it's next Thursday, but no, it's the 12th. I'm doing that.
We would invite you to check out the website.
Yeah, exactly. I write things on the website so I don't have to keep them in the old.
There you go. He knocked on his head in case you couldn't hear that. So
I heard that in my head.
We also are working on a non-local showcase at the Brewing Project. Now, I'm curious about this, Scott.
Yeah.
Because aren't we supposed to be all about local stuff?
We definitely are. And for me, like, the thing with this passion, this one, it's a thing for the local music scene to come to. I'm really wanting to work with finding some amazing out-of-market bands that people haven't necessarily seen play here in Eau Claire, and really sharing them in a spot. And since the Brewing Project were amazing partners to sponsor it only seemed fitting that we do something special that we literally just don't see around here.
Yep.
And so this one is just about giving us a new experience and tying. And, if you're a local musician, I would suggest coming out to that show and saying hi to the acts. Like, it's about meeting people too. Yeah, making connections.
Building community.
Shaking hands. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Absolutely. And then we've got the Expedition series, which runs monthly.
You do amazing at that. I do want to say that.
Oh, thanks, man.
I look at the lineup of it, and it's always amazing.
It's so fun, and Heidi up at Expeditions is such a great partner. And then we've got people there who are energized by this, and we're looking to see how we can expand what we're doing up in Bloomer. So it's been a cool thing. But we've got some fun shows coming up. We got a back-to-school thing, hip-hop deal, which will be fun to do in Bloomer. Hopefully we'll get some high school students out there. With Wayward and We're Wolves. We've got the Nunnery coming up in October, Peter M., and then the Kathy Wrights Trio with some holiday celebration in December. Looking forward to all these shows, and I'm starting to work on early 2020 booking as well now, so I'm excited about what we're going to do there.
Y22K, one could say.
You could say that.
I don't know if that would be correct.
But here's the thing. Whether you're talking about the Expedition shows or any of these this is a bad way to say it, but one-off shows that we're doing around town, we want to see you there, either helping out as a volunteer. Because let me tell you something, for me, and this is something I'm going to talk about in my Eau Claire series when I do that series. But for me, this whole experience of music and culture has become more rewarding as I've become more of a contributor.
Yeah.
And so come out and volunteer and be a part of it. But even if you don't do that, just come to the shows and be a part of what's happening at these shows. It's really a sweet, special thing.
Well, and I'll even go one step further. just get out to shows.
Yeah.
Like, let's all. I've been trying to, and failed a little bit lately with some family stuff, but I try to catch 1 to 2 things that I'm not involved in at all a month.
Yeah.
I guess Dessa actually counts.
That counts.
For last night. But yeah, like I try to do something that's someone's. And like, I know not all of us are going to go to a basement house show thing. A lot of us are, and that's awesome too. But like, get out and do a thing a month that's not in your comfort zone, and then also come to our stuff too. But like that's kind of the heart of all of this. Is it's about building
getting
that
out
community.
there and being with people. Building community, building connection.
And I'll tell you, if you find a show that you want to do something at, and you go to that team thing, this is a callback to earlier in this podcast.
Convergeradio.org/team.
We can maybe figure out a way to get you into these shows.
Absolutely.
And, maybe wearing a Converge Radio t-shirt and handing out some decals or something.
And then you get to just enjoy the show.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Kind of a cool deal.
Because, I mean, that's a lot of this concert stuff, too, why I like volunteering at it. At the end of the day, I'm hanging out at a concert.
So, Scott, you mentioned Dessa.
Yeah.
And earlier you mentioned Doomtree.
Yeah.
So we're going to
bang a rang.
Some other updates here, and we're going to kick it off with this Dessa interview. So understand, and I listened to the interview, and it was really cool. So
I mean, when she was talking, it was cool.
Well, there could be something to that. I don't know, but she's pretty much cool, and she's going to make everybody else look not cool.
Yeah.
Usually. But aside from how cool the interview itself was, there was something that we learned from that I'd like for you to share with us.
Yeah, it's been something I've wanted to figure out for years in general, and that is including some songs that we play in with interviews we do in a experience on our website. So you could basically have a experience like it is listening to the radio when you listen to it live. And so I've been baffled at how to do this for years, and it's been something people have talked to me. You've talked to me about doing it, like, I want to have a Tome Swab experience where I can play some songs and host them and do that. I'm like, no, you legally can't, right, Ed. And you're like, well, you can. And I'm like, well, no one's suing people for it yet, but I don't think you can. But this has been a neat way that we've figured out to be able to play an interview and have some songs and still, and one of the great things, the wins all around, is when those videos play as part of our playlist, all those content creators still get their hits on YouTube and stuff.
Right. And that's an important aspect. And that's, aside from the legal aspect of it all, we really want to make sure that the artists are getting their due on some level here. So,
yeah, and I mean, if it's 2 cents from YouTube, that's something we can do.
Yeah, it's more than 0 cents. And
exactly.
It puts another view on their checklist there, if you will, on YouTube. So anyway, that's a cool thing, and we're figuring out different ways we can utilize that ability going forward. Converge Radio News is kind of a new thing. You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, that's been a producer, Shannon, who has been doing some stories for me. What is happening here?
This is what happens when you live podcast. Your phone starts talking.
What? No, I don't know how to make this up.
We're just keeping it real here, folks. We're keeping it real.
That really happened. That was some other podcast playing in this podcast. But Converge Radio News is something that we're doing where it's really simple, just like covering events going on in the region, doing 1-minute readers. It'll be on the morning. You mean in Eau
Claire?
Well, throughout the region, maybe in places like Thorpe or Chippewa Falls or Menominee or Wheeler.
What about Knapp?
Knapp,
is it possible?
If there's stuff going on in Knapp, we'll definitely be covering it on this. But it's about just doing the arts and culture thing that's on our beat anyway, but giving people some maybe event knowledge or even talking about fundraisers different nonprofits are doing. We even have an email for it. That's news@convergeradio.org.
So if you're aware of stuff going on, please email that email address and let us know.
Yeah.
We want to, we care. I mean, we've, just by example, this thing in Bloomer's not a huge town, but it's a cool town.
Yeah.
And we just, because of personal connections, again, we come back to that building community and connections thing. just because of personal connections that have been made there, we're building something cool there. And that's the kind of thing we'd like to have happening all around these communities throughout Western Wisconsin.
Well, there's just so much to experience. Like at the end of the day, I just want to see these things and go to Knapp for whatever this theoretical
I just
Knapp
drove through
thing
Knapp the other day, which is why it's on my mind.
Oh, yeah, no, and that's actually fun. And that's a side thing for me. I listen to Converge when I'm rolling through places like Barron and Turtle Lake, and I get super jazzed about it. So the Converge Radio News, it's going to be about that. None of the stories are like a minute in length that we're doing. We're not trying to knock journalism out of the ballpark. Actually, WUEC does a great job of that, and I encourage people to check out Blue Gold Radio Sunday on 89.7 on Sundays at 5. That's the spot where they're really knocking that out. What we're trying to do is just get stories out to the community in a digestible thing, so then they can hear that and then hear a Cassandra Wilson song right afterwards.
There you go. All right, so
somehow Cassandra Wilson got a plug on the podcast.
There you go. So the last thing we kind of have on our list here is this. It's a little bit of vision casting, really. So I'd like for you to kind of speak to this idea of becoming a hub for arts and culture.
Yeah, well, and it's an interesting dynamic. So I spent, in my job before this, I worked at the State Theater Eau Claire Regional Arts Center. And so I knew that they were doing stuff. I knew Heidi Center's doing stuff in Menominee. I know Mabel's doing stuff in Menominee. Heidi Center's doing stuff in Chippewa Falls. But I really want this signal, this radio that literally hits people's airwaves, to be a hub that supports those great organizations, but also is all about the region. I want us to be a spot that really showcases Western Wisconsin and says, there's a lot of goodness in all of these communities. And I think about that a lot because we broadcast out of Cornell. That's our hub. That's our literal hub. And so when I think about that hub, Eau Claire is definitely one spoke on it. But then you go around a rotation and you got Rice Lake up there.
Yes.
And then you go another rotation and you hit Menominee. You go another rotation, you hit Chippewa Falls. Well, Chippewa Falls is kind of in the spoke, but let's and I really want that Converge thing to be that centering on for all of these places.
Yep. Well, it's we talk about it being a place to come together, and that's really what a hub does. You've got all the spokes coming together at the hub. So we really it's about connection and building community. It's about getting people face to face with each other, either literally or virtually, and it's just on a philosophical note. It's a lot harder to hate somebody when you're looking them in the eye.
Exactly.
And so we're hoping to foster love and peace, and we don't want to sound too hippie, but I think that's not too hippie. I think that's real life.
Well, and I'll say this for anyone that follows me. I'm trying to engage in peace a lot more and not fight the negativity, just focus on the...
rise above it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. Do we have more on this podcast?
We have a really cool logo that we're showing you right now with Converge Radio, and really wanted to mention, so we talked about a lot of stuff, and we ran through some of it kind of quickly. If you have questions or comments about any of the things that we've talked about or anything to do with Converge Radio, we would invite you to reach out to us, and you can send emails to me at ed@convergeradio.org. I'll be glad to field those, and I can work with Scott to come up with intelligent answers if I don't have them.
Now, some of those intelligent answers come a day later.
Of course.
And I do want, but I mean, that's one of the things I do want to tell people. We're definitely thinking about everything that's brought up.
Yep.
And if we're not responding right away, it's because we're really, really trying to figure out how to make it work.
Well, not only that, but I have a full-time job that's not this.
Oh. Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Well, so thank you for all you do then.
No, I don't say it for that because I love this. It's such a privilege.
Yeah.
But, everybody, same thing with you all. Everybody's got jobs and family responsibilities and things going on. And so we take everything that you give us seriously, and we want to, we know that there are a lot of great ideas out there that aren't ours.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want those ideas, and we want your contributions, whether it's an idea or it's you want to, lend some muscle and some sweat to something.
I mean, maybe if you're not a graying white dude, you can have some great ideas for this.
That's right. Because that's both of us.
Or if you are a graying white dude too, but let's make this community something new and get some great, fresh energy.
Yeah, so let's just end this thing by saying thank you. We appreciate you for listening to this and being a part of Converge at whatever level you are.
Please tell us the name of this podcast soon so we can figure it out.
That's right. And so we're gonna be offering these up on a regular basis. We're not sure of the cadence just yet, maybe monthly or bi-monthly, but you'll be getting more of these updates on a regular basis going forward.
For sure. And yeah, thank you for watching it to this point and listening to us. And yeah, this is the podcast.
This is the end.
This is the end.
Have a great day. Goodbye.